Alright, so step number one for when you are giving yourself a Deathhawk is to make your sections. And so I can't do that for you guys right now. My sections are already made. You can either do one section and then shave that like I did in my second Deathhawk video, or you can do both and then shave both. It does not matter. It's whatever is easiest for you, whatever makes the most sense. The reason why I did one first and shaved it and then did the other is so that I could very clearly see the line. My hair is very dark. It's hard for me to see exactly where my section is when it's when it was just my natural hair color. And so it's really easy for me to see if it's black hair, white scalp. So that's why I did one and then sectioned off and shaved the other, so I could very clearly see and try and make them as even as possible, which didn't end up happening anyway, but that doesn't really matter. But what I can show you guys is me putting my hair up and out of the way for when I shave my sides down. And so like I said, it's helpful to have a brush so that you can smooth everything down. It's important to be able to see the line that you need to stop at for when you are shaving your sides. And so something else that I sometimes do is get my hair a little bit wet along the edges. And so I will show you guys that in a second. So first I do a ponytail to get everything really tight, and then I'll kind of do a stupid bun thing. This bun is probably gonna suck, but that's okay. Okay, cool. So sometimes what I do is I get my fingers a little bit wet and I just kind of like smooth down your hair, because you want everything to be really, really flat. It makes it easier. What I'll also do is I'll get my ear tails wet so that they like very clearly stick together, like which hair is ear tail and which is not. Also, if you want to give yourself ear tails with your Deathhawk, make sure that you map them out before you start shaving. That has to do with sectioning, so if you are planning on having something in the front, some people have the entire front, they leave it alone, some people just do the ear tail. Whatever you want to do, make sure that you section that out first before you start shaving, of course. What I can show you guys is the fact that I have my cyber edge, that's what I've nicknamed it, that I'm not going to shave right now, and so I'm going to have to clip that back, so we can kind of pretend like if you have bangs or something, make sure that you clip that shit back, dude. So I can show you for sectioning, the reason why the metal tip comb is so nice is because so you can just put it in and then kind of lift it up. I kind of press against my head. You guys can see how clean that line is. Like that's like a really straight ass line. Like that's really cool. So that is why the metal tipped comb is recommended as opposed to like a plastic tip or using your fingers. Some people can section with their fingernails really, really well. Props to you guys. I can't. So after sectioning your hair and then putting your hair up and smoothing everything down, you're ready to start shaving. Make sure that you plugged your clippers in, you have the right guard on, and that it works. I think some clippers call for putting oil on before a haircut. Mine, you put oil on after haircuts. And so just make sure that you know how your clippers works, you read their directions, you know how to take care of them. And so it doesn't really matter if you start with the front or with the back. Some people start in the back and shave forward. I start in the front and then just kind of work my way back. Whatever is easiest for you. I found that for the first time, doing it in the front is easiest because you can very clearly see what you're doing, you get comfortable using the clippers, and then you can attack the back. And then I usually start with the side that my hand is dominant on, and so I'm right hand dominant, and so I start with my right side. Again, just so that I can get comfortable using the clippers again. Usually it's been a pretty long time since I've shaved down my sides. That's one of the reasons why I don't use a guard, so I don't have to maintain them as often. And so you can get up close to your mirror. Sometimes I get up really, really close. Sometimes I even sit on the counter and get up close. If you don't have a counter, if your sink won't sustain your weight, then don't do that. But get up close so you can see what you're doing. And let's get to it! And so if you see, what I'm doing is I'm kind of shaving and then going like that. So what I'm doing here is I'm shaving and then tipping the hair that I just shaved off forward into the trash can that I mentioned earlier. And so this really, really helps with not having hair everywhere. Almost all the hair that I just shaved went into the trash can just from, instead of just like going like that, I go like boop, boop, hair in a trash can. Way easier cleanup. Alright, so I was waiting for this to happen because this is something that I want to talk about. I made a mistake. I shaved off something that I didn't want to shave off. So my ear tail, as you can see, I cut a corner of it off, like right here. And so I am not happy about that, but it's okay. So I knew this was going to happen. Every time I shave my sides, I shave something that I'm not supposed to. And so the reason why I kind of put supposed to in quotes is because supposed to only really has to do with what you want and how you want things to look. And like I said, this happens every single time. My hawk is thinner now than it used to be, and it's also tapered in the back. And I actually ended up really liking that mistake. I caught that on camera. I was filming when it happened, and so I'll show that right now. Fuck. Damn it. Alright, so I just cut another fucking chunk out of my hair, and this one I'm a little bit kind of sad about. I know I just said that I don't care, but the reason I care is because it was right here. And yeah, so now my Deathhawk is getting like way up there. That's kind of funny. Actually, you know what? I take it back. I'm okay with this mistake that's happening because, and you guys should be able to see this, because now it's like a V. Now it's coming to a point. That looks kind of nice. I like that. Yeah, that's nice. So as you can see, I'm generally pretty okay with mistakes. I've lucked out that the tapered hawk I ended up really liking, and I've kept this one I'm bummed about. I don't really like how it looks, but I also know that, one, not a lot of people like ear tails anyway, and so it's not like people are going to be like, oh, now I hate them, because people already hated them. Two, it's not super noticeable. It's not that bad, but it's never really been something that I've cared about. That's one of the reasons why I do my own hair. It's one of the reasons why I started doing my own hair, because I don't really care about things being perfect. I'm not perfect, my hair's not perfect, it's never gonna be perfect, and that's okay. But if that is something that you care about, really make sure that this is something that you want to do on your own. If you still want to do it yourself, then I strongly encourage having someone around to help, like I mentioned before, and to go very, very slowly. So that is just something to kind of expect, that you're gonna do something wrong, you're gonna do something that you didn't mean to do, you're gonna make a mistake. I have done my hair many a times where I did it exactly how I thought it was going to happen, but for the most part I fuck up in some way. Something happens that I wasn't planning, that I would rather have had not happen, and it's just something that you have to kind of deal with. That's kind of the cost when you do your own hair. If you go in to get it done professionally, you are spending a ton of money, but if you do it yourself, then you pay with mistakes, if that makes sense. So now that we've covered the mistake step of this tutorial, we can get on with it. Okay, now that we are done with the front part of our sides, now we have to do the back. It's important to try to have a steady hand, to go slow, be patient, and really focus on your movements. Watching yourself do something through a mirror, like shaving your head, is, in my opinion, really difficult. And if you can do it, no problem, then you're lucky and you're awesome. But for me, it's pretty hard to figure out exactly how to move my hand to get it over here and how to move my hand to get it over here when I'm watching myself through two mirrors. It takes a little bit to get the hang of it. I've gotten better over the years, so just keep with it and you'll get the hang of it. If you're not getting it right away, just stop, slow down, take a second, figure out where things are in the mirror. Sometimes what I do is I'll just kind of like figure out what's going on, so don't have the clippers on, just like make the movements so that you know what to do. So give yourself the time to let everything click as you're learning how to do this. So, like I said, leaning in close helps a lot to just get the distance between the two mirrors as short as possible, and then you can really see the back of your head super clearly. You can see the lines, as opposed to if you're far away, it's kind of hard to see exactly what you're doing. So now that we know the steps, we know what to do, let's do it. So as you guys can see, what I've been doing sometimes is I'll kind of stop and brush away the hair. That can be really helpful because the extra hair that you just shaved but hasn't fallen off yet can kind of block your view. You can't really see what you're doing. And so if you're kind of constantly like brushing that away, smoothing everything down again, that really helps. Another thing that I do when I get to doing around the edge is, I'll try to describe this, I'll push the hair out to the side like this. Yeah, so then you can see that line. And try not to pull hair that you have clipped back out, because then you have to clip it back again. Ah! So then when you are done with the side, the final step is to just go over everything at least one more time. It's kind of easy to miss spots, just sometimes your clippers won't get everything on one go. And so just go over everything, give it a once over, just to make sure that you have everything shaved down that you want to have shaved down. And then my final tip that I have for you guys to make doing your own Deathhawk easier is when you're doing the side that is your non-dominant. What you can do in order to make it easier to do the back is to rest your forearm on your head. And so I will demonstrate. I'll try to explain and show this as best as I can. So what I mean is to rest my arm on my head like this. And so keeping your arm on your head allows you to keep your hand really steady. It can limit your movement, but I found it really helpful. It's tricky at first, like most things in this video, but I found it to be really helpful. And then another thing that I'll do while doing this trick, so what I'll do is I'll start here, and then as I move the clippers up, I will tilt my head back into them. I do this so that I can keep my arm in place, keep my hand steady, and so that I can shave larger sections at one time in one movement. I'm essentially using my head to shave my head, and it works really well. And so hopefully you guys will be able to see what I mean. I'll be doing it for the rest of this section, so pay attention a little bit. And then what I do to get the edge of the opposite side that I'm dominant on, I will rest my arm on my head, and then I will tilt my wrist so that the clippers is coming at the edge straight on. So arm on head, I'm tilting my wrist and the clippers so that they're coming at the edge straight on. My arm is staying steady, my hand is staying steady. It's very limited movements, but that's all you need, and you really shouldn't be doing large, wild movements in this section anyway. And you're done! You gave yourself a Deathhawk, or you maintained your shaved sides. Unfortunately, the entire process is not done yet. There's still some things to do. My favorite being taking your hair down and seeing all the hair that comes out, all of the hair that you shaved that you were not supposed to. And so just while I'm taking my hair down really fast, I will mention to you guys, maybe some of you noticed, some of you didn't, that my lines are not very straight right now. They're not very clean. And that is because of the cyber edge detail that I have going on. You cannot see the line underneath there because the hair covers it. So I didn't do them as cleanly as I could have. They're not as not like straight, but like, you know, whatever. They're not as straight, they're not as clean. I just wanted to clarify that just in case any of you noticed and were wondering why that was. It's just because the hair that is coming down right now that you can see, I'll be cutting and it will cover up that. And so I'm going to cut the cyber edge in such a way that it looks like a really neat clean line, but underneath there it actually isn't. Because I don't need to. You can't see it, so who cares? Alright, so we got a little bit of the edge that I wanted to leave. Cut that up a little bit more. Not as much in the back as I usually do. That's pretty cool. And so what's nice about the edge is that none of this came out. I didn't shave any of my long hair. If any of you guys were wondering why I leave that edge, part of it was because I wanted to do something different. I think it looks cool, have an extra detail. The bonus of that is that it acts as a buffer to my long hair so that I don't shave any of this off because I'm just kind of shaving into the edge. So it's kind of a win-win, a little extra detail and my long hair all stays. And the very last thing that I'm going to say in this video about a Deathhawk tutorial is that you might notice on yourself some red spots start to appear, some redness, some blotchiness. In my experience, that is normal. What that is that's just irritation from clippers being on your skin. Especially if you're doing it for the first time, your skin has never had that type of contact on it. And so I get that. I still get it. I don't know if you can see any of it right now, but there might be some red spots around. I usually get it around the hairline, sometimes a little bit up in here. I get those redness spots. I'm especially heavy-handed with my clippers. That's also how I keep my hand steady, is by kind of adding a little bit more pressure than I need to. So if you see redness on your scalp while you're doing this to yourself, don't freak out. It's probably just natural irritation from the clippers, or normal irritation. If something looks like extra weird, it might be something else. But for the most part, it is really common to get red spots or redness on your skin, on your neck when you're doing this, because you're taking a hot, sharp, heavy piece of metal against your scalp repeatedly, and your scalp is not used to that. It's not used to anything happening to it, besides maybe a brush or your fingers. So that's what that is. Alright, sorry that this video is crazy long, but there's just so much information, so much that I've gathered over the years that I wanted to share with you guys. Hopefully this was interesting, helpful, entertaining. I won't be doing anything with the edge in this tutorial, just in the essence of time for this video, and also because I've only done this one time, so I don't really have a tutorial for it. If that is something that you guys are interested in, comment down below. Let me know if you want to see how I do this kind of step-by-step or have a talk through with it. And if that's something that you guys want, then I'll make sure to do that for you. And don't forget to leave your own tips if you have them in the comment section for other people to see as well. Oh, and I kind of forgot to give like a finished product look. This is not done, you know, but this is kind of like what the sides look like when they're shaved. And my cyber edge is way too long. Like, way too fucking long. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was at least a little bit informative. Feel free to subscribe if you are not already, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye! And so for that, you're gonna need some scissors. It does not matter what kind of scissors you use if you are shaving your hair after you cut it. That is why I use craft scissors in my Deathhawk videos.